One of the more toxic pieces of traditional sales wisdom you'll hear is that people buy from people they like. I say it's toxic because deconstructing it was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my sales career. And even just the other day, I saw a sales influencer I follow tell the story about a rep in his company who just won the largest deal in the firm's history, even though the competing rep was a personal friend of the decision maker. Like they vacationed together level of friends. I'll tell you the rest of that story, and I'll bust the myth that people buy from people they like today on Don't Just Sell. Most sales podcasts give you more tactics. This one proves you don't need them. I'm Rebecca Kilday, and this is Don't Just Sell, the podcast where your sales career gets easier when you quit selling like you've been trained and start selling like yourself. So to finish the story about the rep who won the biggest deal in the firm's history, despite the competitor rep having a personal friendship with the decision maker, the SVP of sales said they definitely had the relationship acumen, but we had the sales acumen. He said they had a more focused vision for the solutions they could bring to the company, and that ultimately they made a tighter sales argument that won them the business. It's more and more common for people to keep business and their personal lives separate. And I think it means we need to rethink how we build rapport. Now, I'm going to give you an example of my own career. And before I tell this story, please know there are thousands of stories that I could tell right now about me trying to connect with prospects, hoping that they will like me. And this is just one that happened that really stands out. Happened early in my sales career when I was selling yearbooks for a yearbook company. In the summertime, we were encouraged to call on schools because principals are still in those buildings, even when students and teachers are gone. And it's just a more relaxed time so that you can pop in without an appointment to start to build a relationship with those principals. So I went to visit a school that was about an hour away from my house, out in the middle of nowhere, in the hopes that I could meet with this principal. So I pull up to the school, and I see the principal of the building riding a lawnmower. He's physically cutting the grass at the school's yard. So I wave to him, and he comes over to speak to me, and it turns out that his small budget for the school does not allow for lawn care during the summer. So he had come over to mow the lawn of the school and to pull the weeds out of the flower beds around the entrance. I was so charmed by this. I was just really touched by this principal's work ethic and how much he cared for his school, made me want him to like me even more. So when he got off the lawnmower, I followed him to the front flower beds of that school, and I knelt down in my dress and my high heels, and I started to pull weeds with him. So we pulled weeds for about 30 minutes and chit-chatted along the way. And I thought, man, I am really making a meaningful connection with this guy. He will remember me forever and tell this story to his grandkids. And at the end of it, he said, come and see me on the first day of school, and we'll sign a yearbook contract with you. So I thought about it all summer, cut to, 8 weeks later, I pull up to the first day of school. So things are different. The energy is buzzy. He is wearing a tie, sitting at his desk, and I walk into his office, and he looks at me, and he says, who are you? Yeah. My ego is just now recovering from how awful that made me feel. And the most embarrassing part about that story isn't that I didn't get the business, which I didn't, and it isn't even that the principal didn't recognize me on that first day of school. It's that my feelings were hurt when I left that school. I had a long drive back home, and I wallowed in self-pity the whole way back. And it was just the beginning of my realization that being liked by my prospects wasn't going to cut it. I said at the beginning of the episode that the idea that people buy from people they like is more than just bad advice. It's toxic. Here's why I think that. The idea shifts the goal of the sales interaction from solution finding to people pleasing. This is incredibly harmful advice for women in sales who historically are taught to appease and over-accommodate for their prospects. This strategy leads to negative self-talk and overthinking, just like I did when I left the school. What did I do wrong here? You think things like, if they liked me better, they would have bought from me. But it's not that simple, and it puts too much value on likability. If you want to know why women burn out from sales jobs 3 times faster than men in comparable roles, this is why. In all honesty, I still struggle with this. It's important to me to be liked. But you know who doesn't care if he's liked? My husband. In many ways, he's the one who's helped me shed the weight of other people's opinions because in his mind, the way people feel about you personally has nothing to do with your credibility or how good you are at your job. I wish this mindset came more naturally to me, but I have to work at it. Every now and then, though, I can tell a massive improvement in the way I handle sales situations now than the way I handled them at the beginning of my career. When I was selling advertising for the magazine that I owned, one of the advertisers said they wanted to cancel their contract before the term was over. In my younger days, I would have let them, not wanting to have an uncomfortable conversation or to make the situation worse. But in this instance, I respectfully reminded my client of the terms of their contract, and I asked them some clarifying questions about why they wanted to leave. They shared some details with me about their business that I didn't know before, and it helped me understand their situation better. So with this new information in mind, I was able to redesign their ads so it was more effective in helping them reach their goals. When it was time to renew the contract, I assumed they would walk away. But the client said they appreciated how I handled the situation when they wanted to leave. And this time, they signed a contract for larger ad space than they had before, and for 3 times as long as their original term. They didn't do this because they liked me. They did this because they trusted me. So how do you shift from trying to be liked to building trust instead? Before I share what that looks like, I want to tell you about a sales team I worked with who was struggling with exactly this. They were spinning their wheels from trying to get prospects to like them instead of building authentic trust with them. After our training, they felt a remarkable difference in the quality of their sales conversations, and it led to direct sales results. So if your team is facing this same challenge, I'm including a link in the show notes where you can get in touch with me about bringing this training to your organization. When I think about building rapport now, I think about focusing on my credibility before my likability. I show them that I know their business's unique challenges and what keeps them up at night. That's what builds trust. Then, I create an environment where the prospect feels safe communicating the truth. I do this by setting clear expectations, being transparent about the sales process, and validating any reservations they might have. Finally, I prioritize being reliable over being agreeable. I say what I mean, and I do what I said I was going to do. If I said I'd follow up with more information the next day, I follow up with more information the next day. Let's do a script swap so you can hear how this sounds in practice. Instead of walking into an office, desperately scanning the walls and saying, "I see you have pictures of your kids at Disney. I went to Disney once with my kids too. Did yours have a good time?" You can say, "In my experience, this is an exciting time of year in your business cycle. How are you managing the upswing in orders to meet the demand?" The second interaction still builds rapport, but also builds credibility by showing you know the cycle and a common challenge for the business. It makes a much stronger impression than frantically searching the pictures in the office to find some common ground. I want to end this episode by issuing a challenge. Let go of the mantra that people buy from people they like. Free yourself of trying to get your prospects to like you, and focus on being the most knowledgeable, most reliable version of yourself you can be. As long as you like you, that's all that matters. And that's all you need to elevate yourself from someone who just sells to someone who sells inspired.